So the idea is it may or may not work. I'm putting that caveat out there now. But either way, it's do. But also,
you know what it's like with this stuff. It's kind of content is content, isn't it? It just, the more there is of it, the more awareness. Doesn't mean anyone will come to the gig, but they might know who we are by the end of it. You never know. Screen because I feel like I'm just washing out. Like I look like a proper goth anyway, but like this is making me like a Victorian.
Yeah, it could be like white makeup, that couldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure it'd suit me.
All right, Jay.
Physically or geographically?
Both.
Both. This is so I live in an old Victorian house in Northampton. And with the weather at the moment, I'm extremely grateful, and for music's sake as well, is I have a cellar. I have an old Victorian house with a tanked cellar, and it's fucking great. So I moved into this house maybe 3.5 years ago, and it is my proper man cave. I really don't leave, but all of this, which you can't see, is my studio setup basically, and it's right next to my work laptop, so sometimes those things merge in time spans.
So you very rarely leave.
No, I was just saying to him, I just started going to the gym today because I've sat here for 3.5 years. I need to, I need to get some more lines in place rather than curves. So I have been sitting here for 3.5 years. It's lovely.
So this is the commitment for the gig. That by the time us guys get there, we're all going to be rich. That's what we promised.
We got 17 days.
Yeah. We're gonna have to do a lot in a very short period of time.
Yeah. I'm gonna wear one of those Superman suits, just just with the foam six-pack.
So do you want to sort of introduce a bit about J Dead and where it came from, and kind of what kind of music, how you would describe it, and that kind of stuff as well? Then I guess just to give a bit of an overview about it.
Yeah, cool. So Jaded is a solo project from me. I started, I think the first song that I pushed out was in December 2019, as a little bit of a teaser for what was to come beyond that. I've been playing in electronic bands basically as a session player, as a live drummer for the last 18 years. So I started when I was quite young. I joined some, reasonably sort of well-covered EBM bands, which had a really good following in Germany. And I just kind of built it up from there. It's one of the things within this scene, because it's quite small, you get to know a lot of people and you get to play in lots of other people's bands, because if people want you, you kind of get shared about a little bit. And I got to the point where I was like, well, I've been making music since I was 14. I'm 35 now. Maybe I should actually start finishing some of my own stuff, because I'd always been writing, but just never did anything with it. So I was like, right, now's the time to do it. Give myself a bit of a push. And Jaded is it's a synth pop project in one way or another, but it has lots of different influences. It's my version of modern synth pop. So it has a lot of heart from the 80s. It has a lot of heart from the bands, like, we kind of share a few influences in terms of, Depeche Mode and so on and so forth. Like, I really, really enjoy that music. It kind of speaks to my soul a little bit. But I'm also into a lot of metal. I'm also into a lot of aggressive music as well. Something with a little bit of kind of like hardcore punky edge. So I try and add a lot of those influences in on top to try and, for my own sake, not for anybody else, by the way, to kind of cut away from that typical synth pop sound, which you hear again, where most of my fan base are in Germany, where it's very, very static, in my opinion. Everybody just sounds the same, really. So,
are you a Nine Inch Nails fan? Is that right?
Hell yeah, through and through. So I only have one man crush, and it is Trent Reznor. He's on my sleep list. He's the one excuse that I can break away from my girlfriend. Yeah, I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. It took me a while to get into them, but that type of music has always kind of spoken to me, where it's got he's got some really gritty music that has so much emotion built into it, and that for me kind of really emulates what I want to be able to achieve as well, is that hey, it can have a really catchy poppy melody, but it's the composition of it is grittier, it's got more in it, it's got more tension. So
yeah, great.
And you know, one thing that I wanted to ask you guys, and Tim, it was based off the conversation that we had previously. So I first heard of you through Synth Pop Fanatic. So Chris over in the States, he's covered some Jaded stuff before, and he's really, really supportive. So I normally watch what he's doing. A tip for anybody else, you know, go and watch his feed. It's really, really insightful.
Right.
And you came up on there as a kind of a UK band, which sort of piqued my interest. But when we had a chat, you kind of said it was quite a sort of discovery piece for you to kind of find yourself sort of in this genre, so to speak, that kind of dark synth sort of area, and that it was never really realized when you were making the music. So I think that's really interesting how you guys started making music together without knowing where you fit, so to speak, or have been placed. Maybe fit's the wrong word, but how did that come about? Because that's hugely interesting.
Maybe I'll start with that, talking to that bit you just described then, and then Shelley's probably a good one to come in as well, because he was there right at the beginning of all this.
Okay.
I think it was really interesting because in Manchester, I would say the kind of music that Mercury Machine is doing, there aren't a lot of other bands within the local area that are doing that kind of sound. There's a couple that are similar in some ways. And kind of like, you know, Slow Readers Club will be a version of a band that we know of, that, but that's probably a bit more mainstream and less dark than the music we're doing, and a couple of other bands. So it's definitely something that isn't like a huge scene here. And then I guess as we've played to people, we've began to see the kind of people that it was resonating with, and we didn't know that was going to happen. And it isn't like, you know, your average person. It's a little bit different, perhaps a bit more nuanced in terms of what they're into as well. And then I think we got to find out a bit like the goth scene here as well. And suddenly we ended up going to the goth fest as a band. We went to enjoy it, not to play there. And we sort of went along. And I would say, you know, Lee, who writes the music, and Shelley probably tell a bit more about him, but he definitely does wear all black and sits in a room all day long, very similar to what you described. But we just thought that was Lee. We didn't realise there was a whole bunch of people like that. So
poor guy being compared against me, poor guy.
Yeah, and then so I think it's kind of the more people were reflecting back what we were doing, and then we realised that was a bigger thing. And then I think personally, I've found even very recently when I look at like the Spotify list now and who's around us. I was playing it to my brother-in-law over the weekend, played your music, played some other music on Spotify. Thanks. And he was like, oh my God, I didn't realize there was so many bands that were in this. Like, I said, no, it's like a genre. It's like an actual thing.
It's a thing, guys.
Yeah, we didn't have a clue. But I didn't, Shelley, you were obviously there at the start, so you might have inklings for that more from your perspective.
Yeah. Well, I'll take you right back to, before the start of Mercury Machine was probably around 2010. I've been in a couple of bands with Lee before. Like you, I started in bands about 14. And Lee's always, you know, he's a few years older than me, and we lived very close together. And you know, he's always somebody that I looked up to. I was always, you know, quite jealous when, you know, I know he was out gigging and he was going to all these cool venues, and you know,
typical, isn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, fast forward, it's like 2010. Lee's got his own kind of studio and rehearsal room, it just starts as a bit of a, you know, just getting together and just getting any ideas down, recorded, and then we just started playing around with different kind of types of dance music, and instead of kind of ourselves laying the vocals, we just thought, you know, let's bring like really great kind of vocalists in, and we'll lay their vocals over these
Okay.
tracks. So it kind of started there, and then fast forward a bit, a bit more into the future, probably about 2012. One of the tracks, we'd always loved this one particular track that had a female vocal on it. It was called Ecstasy Game, and you can probably, it's probably out there on the dark web somewhere. But in one of these evenings that we got together, we just said, let's actually do that. Let's like make that like a proper track, and get, and make it our own, get some proper drums on it and all the rest of it. And then we also had the idea to change it because it had a female vocal on it. So it's like, right, okay, we don't want to go that high. Let's just drop it down and see what really low vocal sounds on it. So we all took turns, and then we just hit it. We just found the sweet spot, and it was just like, yes, that's awesome. And then we were just really kind of inspired by this kind of weird hybrid track that we just created, and then we turned it into a band track, and it was like the first Mercury Machine track that we put together. And then we started to kind of assemble a band around that. We brought in friends at first, and then that didn't kind of quite work out. And then we started putting ads out, and it's, funnily enough, it's how we found Tim. Most band members, are people that we know, but Tim's stuck with us, and he's somebody that we found. What site was it? Do you remember, Tim?
That was some dark website.
Yeah, dark website.
Is it the dark Craigslist or something? The dark Gumtree?
Yeah, Barry's List. So yeah, and then we've been through a few kind of band members and whatnot. But yeah, we've probably been the setup that we are now for about 4 years, something like that. And in terms of how we kind of got to our sound, I think it's just evolved, and as we've become the Mercury Machine that we are now, we've all kind of just landed in this place where we've all got this kind of we buzz off the synth, the 80s, the Depeche Mode, that kind of the 80s kind of new wave post-punk kind of style. And I think there was a moment as well where we went to see, I didn't actually go to see them, but the rest of the band went to go and see Sulphur, and I think that was quite a bit of a bit of a moment, and it really inspired Lee, and I think that he went back, and he I think Broken was a result of the track Broken that we've got was a result of him being inspired by Sulphur. And I do think that was a slight kind of almost tiny change in direction a little bit, and we kind of, and then that was it. We were committed, and then but the crazy thing is, it's taken years we've always been like, what genre are we? And people say, what genre are you? And we're like, well, we're a bit of a mix of that and a bit of that, and we've always found it quite difficult with, we're a kind of a dark electro kind of alternative indie band. Awesome.
This.
Yeah.
I looked like I was milking a cow there, didn't I? But yeah,
I did. But yeah, I think now we've we kind of know where we land.
Do you know the funny thing is though, is it's weird because every time we have played, at the end of the gig, someone's come and started talking about Germany. I'll say, like, yo, you need to play Germany, even if it's
come on, like next time I do a show, like we'll get you over, because as I said before, like, when we were talking on the phone to him, like that would be a great market for you guys, and for me is that with you guys, and please take this the right way, I feel like I can talk quite objectively, because I felt like as a listener, I found you. I kind of felt like I was lucky. But you for me now personally, you're one of my regular listens. So Second Life was the first song that I heard. I think by far that is your absolute standout song for me personally. And it's just, you were talking before, Carl, and I think it's really kind of interesting in terms of how you found your way through the sound, because from a personable listener's point of view, it's so well composed. And that's not just talking about, the song itself, and it's not just talking about the mix, but everything has its right place, and I think that's really, really hard to find as well within this type of scene, as specifically. I think
should
that
make
you
a
guys are offering
testament
something
there
pretty
to
new.
Lee, actually, because that is
I was
Lee.
just going to say, and he would love hearing that. Like,
We'd love the
He will,
ego.
yeah. He'll love the fact that you'd appreciated that. He will be buzzing off of
obsesses
that.
over making everything fit perfectly. He obsesses over it.
But
so
that's,
that is the ultimate.
what it is.
Yeah,
it's, as I said, everything has its right place.
He's been mutually saying that about you, by the way, because he listened to your story, and he was going on about the quality. No, he was talking about the quality of the mastering, and to get Lee saying
I'll pass you my mastering guy's contact details. So and like the way that, because I'm a solo project, the way Jay did is effectively written, because that's kind of something that I think is also quite a good thing to talk about, especially within this sort of genre as well, because there are a lot of involved parties most of the time, and some of those other involved parties aren't really spoken about too much, because there's a sense of not wanting to tell all, so to speak. You kind of read between the lines on that, but for me, I'm quite open and honest. Like, this is a solo project for me. I write all of the music, I record it all here, but I've got a great production team, and my production team are my live band members. So and this is one of the really, really exciting things. I think specifically about the sort of electronic goth scene for two reasons. One, because it's quite a small scene, it's very, very close knit. Everybody kind of knows everybody else. But because it has that electronic side, is that you have a lot of people who do a lot of self-work, which isn't just this is my instrument, it's this. And it's a really, really interesting kind of space to be in, because you will meet so many people who have so much greater levels of involvement of music than you would do maybe, again, for instance, myself, before I started, just a live drummer. So yeah, I've got a really good production team called Motel Music. They do the final production on all of my tracks to kind of polish it, but it's all written by me. And then I've got a mastering team. Well, it's a guy called Christian, who also does a fantastic job. He plays in some acts like Rotazand and Future Lied to Us and all of that type of stuff. But yes, come over to Germany. I say it like I'm living there. I'm not. Again, Northampton, it's not glamorous, but come over to Germany, and you guys will sit extremely well in that space. Personally, I think, as well as musically, it's a really exciting place to be.
It sounds amazing. It really does. Yeah. That Hold Tight, then, your tune, that's like a banging tune, if that's the right way to put it. But
it's my little ballad. It's my little ballad with some screaming in the background.
That's a tune, and it's really catchy, and that's something I've played a lot. Is that because that's one of your latest released, isn't it? That one. So what? Other than you've done, I know you've done a remix recently as well, or a collaboration.
Yeah, so this is the thing, and again, I'm happy to explain kind of how that works for me. Is that because I feel like it's a solo project, is that I'm kind of doing everything. I'm doing all of the thing that maybe what would be split up between band members, as an example, or people who kind of are invested in the group. But I've got to be our social media person. I've got to be our marketing manager and all of these other bits and bobs with it as well. So you kind of get sucked into the algorithm of spreading your music within the current climate. and one of those things is putting out regular music. And I have been writing here, again, 3.5 years. I've literally sat here and I've just been writing and making music. But I also found that because of the way that I want Jaded to kind of gain coverage, is that Jade is a lot about me and my voice. I want to make my voice quite well well understood in a way and recognizable. I think that's something that I'd like to be able to achieve. So as a part of that, I've been working with lots of other people, doing some fantastic remixes and collaborations, and some real talented artists that I've worked with. But I've always found when I've done something for somebody else, I don't get the traffic through my Spotify for it. And one of the ways that all of these big artists, no wonder why Ed Sheeran is #1 on Spotify. The reason why Ed Sheeran is #1 on Spotify for the most amount of streams, or one of the reasons, don't get me wrong, he's not making goth music, but is he did a whole album worth of collaborations, and each song was a dual release. So what that means is that when it goes onto Spotify, it goes to both of your fan bases, rather than one person's fan base and it says that Jade is singing on it. So I've been doing lots of collaboration stuff. I've done a full album, I've done an EP, I released 2 singles from each release, so to speak, with music videos. I've just very few bits of finalizing release number 3, which is called Roots. It's a 7-track original EP. There'll be 3 singles from that. There'll be 7 remixes on it, 8 remixes, something along those lines, kind of working with other people. And I've got another collaboration song out on the 19th of this month, just before the gig. Come to the gig. Some little plug for it there.
Yeah. We'll keep that in the edit.
Come to the gig. So yeah, I've been working really hard. I've been sitting getting fat, but I have been working really hard to keep on pushing out music as much as possible, because it's just me, and I'd like people to be able to hear it. So that's yeah, lots coming and lots in the past.
Yeah. Awesome. That's it's really interesting how you kind of put different spins on all the tracks just to kind of get it out there and get more traffic. That's really interesting. It's something that we should really consider doing a bit more as well.
It's one of those, as I said, I think most artists as well, is that you can kind of really get sort of stuck into it, and the reason why I've got stuck into it is for I guess 2 reasons. Is that the main one, I haven't been able to play shows because I've been in that environment where we've had lockdowns and so on and so forth. And the market for specifically my music, because I guess my music sits very firmly in that kind of goth synth pop arena, it's also where I've been marketing it as well. There are not too many gigs, and I don't have a local following. I don't live in London. I live in Northampton. So something that I wanted to ask you guys specifically as well is that what's it been like building up a kind of local fan base? Because your local guys, I can see that you've got a local fan base that looks pretty loyal, as well as I've heard some from people from other countries. But what's that been like to kind of create? I think
hard work would be how I'd begin with it.
3 things.
Yeah, like we've done everything. Well, I say that we haven't done everything because I know there's a lot of bands that do work very hard, and we have certainly done that over the time we were doing it. We've done all sorts of things like giving out free CDs after gigs. We organise gigs ourselves, and for example, got bands that were bigger than us to come along and headline, but we actually organised it and marketed it, and then organised riders and organised people's dogs to be babysat and looked after, and had delivered, and pizzas delivered to them at a particular time in the show, and with some bands being more demanding than others.
Hey guys, if you're watching,
I can't wait to put my rider into you.
That's it now.
I don't have a dog, but I might just buy one to put it on my rider.
We're setting the bar. Yeah, we did all that stuff, which has been, we've done all that, and it's been what we've understood we need to do. We've also done things like, we did a live stream to a conference in Japan that we got engaged with by making connections there. We've made connections with bands in different countries in Poland. So we were actually nearly due to go and play a show in Poland next month, but something's happened with that. But that means we have got those connections as well, kind of reciprocal things going on with bands who've got similar kind of interests as well. And just what else? I feel like we've done all sorts.
I mean, just playing the smallest venues with the most amount of gear. So where we rehearse, we're on this where you will see it, in a couple of weeks. We rehearse on the second floor of a mill, no lift, so upstairs we go through this adventure kind of center that's got axe throwing and laser tag and crazy golf and things like that. So we go all the way around, and then we get to our home, and that's where we rehearse. And then obviously we got to get all our gear, drag it all the way back around, down the 2 flights of stairs, and that's before we get it into the van and go to a gig. And then we've been playing lots of smaller gigs as a 5-piece with a huge amount of gear. Some of them again down more stairs into the cellar of the venue or whatever. So that
it's like a band with a stadium setup in terms of the equipment, and then turning up to a tiny pub in the likes of Macclesfield, and the guy's jaw just hitting the floor. And you guys
are going to hate me when you see my set. I could probably show you now. Like, I have invested in gaining between me and my 2 guitarists. So I have my full band lineup is a 4-piece. So I have a live drummer, I have a 1 live guitarist, and then 1 live guitar / bassist, depending on what he wants to play at the time. And everybody is confined to a little box, except the drum kit. Okay, admittedly, but I'll take the opportunity to show you. That's it. That's everything. That's all the money I've ever had. But that's it. Like, it's great.
Yeah, that's a bit. We've got our box is a lot bigger than that, isn't it? In fact, we've got a huge box.
It's all right. It's one of these. I just don't feel like a real band. I'll turn up at the gig with you guys. I'm like, oh God, let the pros go in.
That's such a good thing that you've also got it down, because it's you and your guitarist that are coming to do the performance, isn't it? So you've got a way of doing scale back.
So I have So that's kind of the easy. And great. One of the great things about the lineup is that it can be interchangeable and so on and so forth, depending on where they're going and what location. And half the reason why I invested in that is traveling to Germany. So I'm on a German label, with most of my fan base in Germany and hopefully growing and so on and so forth. That's where all my connections are. So I kind of automatically think of myself over there, and my girlfriend lives in the Netherlands as well, so I'm always in Europe, so that needs to be as mobile as possible to kind of make shows easily accessible, because I can fly over with a Peli case and I'm done. That's it.
Yeah, and you've already filled in a Carney form, have you?
No, I think what's that form called again? Yeah,
the Carney form.
Carney form.
I'm assuming you've already done all the details on that.
So with all the forms at the moment, there is you can do it if you're under a certain amount of days that you're playing.
Right.
So because I pop over and pop back, it's one of those things that I don't have to worry about.
I'm not going to ask to inspect your documents.
That's all right. I wouldn't be able to give them to you anyway. Documents, me. No, the most unorganized individual. I'm lucky if I print a set list.
Mind you said you'd already planned the set list, haven't you? Which is pretty impressive.
I did. It was one of those. I've just come back from holiday, and I saw my guitarist a few weeks ago. So we were trying to be adults and to actually plan to maybe attempt to impress you guys, because you're the ones that we want to impress. So we were like, we should really decide, just because this month's a busy month. So I literally flew back from the Netherlands yesterday, and then I fly back to the Netherlands on Friday morning, and then I drive from the Netherlands into Germany to go and play a festival called Mera Luna with another one of my bands for the weekend, and then come back.
So you'll be nicely warmed up then.
Yeah, let's hope so. But we're really looking forward to it. And Carl, you were saying with the venue, it sounds like such a cool environment and such a cool space to do a show. Like, I think one of the questions from me, and it's not a loaded question, I'm not worried, by the way, from my point of view, but how do you guys kind of feel like doing it yourself in kind of a new environment as well, with, you know, equipment things and all of that type of stuff. I think it takes a lot of, it takes a certain someone or a certain someone's to be able to do what you guys are doing. Not everyone would do it.
Well, I think you know, as well as the fact that they're kind of an adventure centre, they also do a lot of kind of outdoor events as well. So in terms of the kind of, you know, risers and stage and that kind of thing, you know, the people that we're working alongside, the people that run the centre, and in terms of all the gear, you know, we've got a solid EA, and you know, we got some great equipment ourselves. So we're, you know, for the first time ever, it's actually going to be a joy just to literally wheel it around the corner than all the way, right. You know.
True professionals. It means you knows how everything works, though.
Absolutely. And Leah will be doing the, you know, making sure all the sounds absolutely great. You know, if you want him to, unless you want to.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, no, it'd be an honour. Yeah, it'd be absolutely fantastic.
I'm just pleased that it could actually have a beer afterwards, rather than
well.
immediately get back in the
bar.
van and start driving.
But yeah, you know, it's a first for us. Hopefully the first of many. You know, we're looking forward to it, and we hope that you have a great time. And yeah, it's just going to be awesome. Whatever happens.
Look, we're you know, we're between me and my guitars, we're really looking forward to I'm looking forward to, you know, to watch you guys play. And again, you know, as I said, it's stuff like this is exciting when you are doing it, you know, yourself, doing it hopefully with the type of bands that you want. You know, I want to play with you guys. I hope that's reciprocated. We'll see.
Yes, absolutely.
But you know,
it's good to be on the bill with a similar kind of sound, you know, as well. We have got a great local guy on as well, I should say.
Cool. That's wicked. I did notice that we're connected on Spotify now, by the way. It shows us as similar artists also like, which is a nice thing to see. So I'm really glad.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really happy with that. And I think, you know, the other thing as well is, like you said, don't get me wrong, this is exciting for you, but we all need people to come. So if anybody, you know, watches this and wants to hear more rambling but in a tune, then then come to the show.
20th of August,
really good.
Droylsden, Manchester. It's not that far out the city centre, even though it sounds like it potentially is. There's a tram stop really nearby. It's really easy to get into. There's a great bar in there, and we're all going to be around just chatting to everybody as well. So it should be a really good.
It's Droylsden. It's up and coming. There's a load of great little bars even in the area. If anybody wants to get down early, there's the is it the Jam Factory? Nice. the jam. What's it called?
Industrial as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Industrial. That's a great little place. The Something Country. It's like a bottle shop pub.
Cool.
So there's loads of really cool places to drink as a bit of a warm up before you get to the venue. But yeah,
I'm sold. All the spaces to have a drink, Carl. I'm definitely sold, mate. Definitely sold.
Excellent.
Nice one. Well, I think we're nearly at time here because the times us out.
Yeah, it says 3 minutes left. So Zoom does 40 minutes now, does it, before it clicks everybody off? So.
Perfect. So I think that was great. I really enjoyed it. It's good.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's just you know, despite someone editing it, it's just nice to have a chat, really.
Yeah,
apart from feeling that we have to plug something at the end of it, but it was good to catch up. Good to see some faces before I see your faces. So
yeah, that's it. Let's do it again sometime and have a beer.
Well, we'll we've between me and Matt, my guitarist, we've decided we're going to stay. We just got a cheap hotel nearby or something along those lines. We're in it for the beers, boys. So
nice.
Yeah, you can drink us under the table. Let's see how we get on.
It's the guys who run the Adventure Centre you want to be worried about.
Oh yeah,
they really do.
Yeah, with Axtra, yeah, I do. Yeah, run. Orchestrate.
Right,
good stuff, guys.
Cheers,
See you later, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, mate.